Hey everybody, welcome back to Woodland Road Fun Fair. We're building a small park from idea to completion. In this episode I'm preparing the backstory location, the woodlands themselves, the lake, a path, a lookout point, decorating the path and getting a recreation area put together. I start out by roughening all of the flat areas in the sandbox template and then digging a hole for the lake. And I'm using the push tool and the roughen tool over and over until I get it looking the way that I want it, and then I'm placing the woodlands. To get these trees down, you can see I'll choose one tree type and then drop them in roughly a line and then rotate and go back and backfill and then rotate and backfill again and then change tree type and repeat and keep doing that until the whole area is filled up. And as it gets more and more dense, I'm being more and more random in terms of where I click the mouse. So it's really just spamming and clicking and hitting Z until the whole area is filled up. Now the roughening of the terrain, I think, makes the sightlines look better if you've got if you're looking out from a ride or something and you're looking over the trees and they're all the same height. That's obviously doesn't look natural enough. If you roughen the area before you put all the trees down, then you're going to get that more fluctuating height without having to micromanage the height of every single tree. The next step is to put the path down. So I'm running from the park entrance to the lake, around the lake, and then up to a lookout area, making a little default spot for the lookout there. I'll go back and clean that up later. And then I'm going to come back and decorate the path. Now there's another sqmsygames experiment video that shows natural path decoration, and I'm using what I practiced in that video to get these paths built. The first step is to elevate the terrain on either side of the path a little bit, just to create a sort of a mound on either side of the pathway. And then I go back and flatten that off. So as you can imagine, that took a wee while, so I'm cut fading through this pretty quickly. Elevate the whole path and sides and then go back and flatten it all off, and that's what it looks like before I start adding all of the trees on either side of the pathway there. And then I use the buildings so that I can copy and paste blocks of trees quickly from one section of the path to another. I wanted the entrance to be double width because I'm not really sure what I want to do with that later, and rather than have to go back and dig it all out and start again, I thought I would make it a bit wider to get going. And I like to use the bins to get the guests to avoid clipping through objects on the side of the pathway, including the gates themselves. So placing bins strategically like that, and also placing bins on the inside corner of a curve also stops them from clipping through the scenery that I'm putting on either side of the path. Then it was manually filling up this area right at the very entrance to the park before I move on to making my little mini building that I use to decorate all the way up the path, all the way to the lookout. So to do that, I make a small building where I place a log that defines the boundary of the walkway or the pathway, and then use shrubs and then larger shrubs and then some trees to fill that up. Go back and put in some different trees, a few sticks and that sort of thing, and then copy that building over and over and over, and then go back and backfill it with larger trees. But now I only have to place 1 or 2 trees every 10 or 15 meters, especially if they poke through this sort of template building, to roughen up the sightline so that it doesn't look so much like it's just the same thing copied over and over. And the other thing I can do is manipulate the log so that it wanders up and down as the terrain fluctuates. I use the paint tool to make it look like people have been walking on the path and cutting corners and so on. Now all of this, if you haven't seen the first video, which is about the planning of this, I'm building a backstory which is a woodland area with a recreational area that the guests are currently just using as a natural reserve, and the company that's going to make the fun park is going to have perhaps purchase rights to some real estate, a phase 1 and a phase 2, and this fast build will just be phase 1. So anytime I think I'm getting stuck in making it too complicated for myself, I'll push that to phase 2 and just try and get phase 1 done in about 6 sittings of 3 to 6 hours each. This recreational area building is 3 shops, 2 toilets, keeping it very simple because it would be a low budget, low maintenance building in a recreational area in a natural park. Creating a lot of curving pathways in here proved quite difficult. I couldn't get them to line up properly with each other, and with the way the terrain was, the terrain heights varying too much, and it was messing up the connections into the shops. So I ended up moving the building out of the way and flattening the ground a wee bit, and then going back and putting it back down again, and then rebuilding the paths, which is some of what you can see happening here. And then I tried to connect it in again with nice curving pathways. In the end, I had to give that up and go to the gridded path system. So what's going to happen in the next video is we'll finish decorating the pathway all the way up to the lookout point, and then I'm going to clear the area that's reserved for, or that's been leased or whatever, for phase 1 of the fun park, so that we can start building the fun park in there with flat rides and so on. So in this final shot, I just quickly ran the camera up the pathway so you could see what that's starting to look like. Obviously it's going to look better when I've completely finished it. And then a slow pan across the lake towards the recreation area. So thanks for watching. That's number 2 out of 7, and I'll be back next weekend with number 3. See you then.